Welcome to this Circle Society webinar today, where we're going to be talking about mastering live videos at trade shows. We thought this was quite appropriate to be delivering the session right now, what with IBC along the way. And for me, I get involved in moderating at trade shows, so I see the good things that our spokespeople do, and then some of the shockers. And I wanted to find somebody great that could get us over the shockers and really help us amplify, I guess, our trade show interviews, be that really online before the show or be it in person. And Andy's going to help us with that today. So Andy, welcome. Thank you for being with us. Andy gets involved a lot as an event host. He's a presentation coach. Since we've been talking, he's been teaching me all sorts of things about how not to have my lights behind me, as I currently have, and I will get there, I promise. And Andy gets involved in moderation and leading conferences, and he's going to be a great asset for us today. And hopefully you're going to talk about your sessions on connecting the dots that you do a bit later on. So that's great. So Andy, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, and excited to be here with the Circle Society members and a few others. So we published this on LinkedIn and everywhere. So yeah, very nice to be here. Thank you, Lisa, for the invitation and an opportunity to be with you.
Pleasure. And we will, for those joining us live today, have time for questions. So if you have questions to ask, then please pop them in the Q&A tab. We are clearly recording the session, so it will be made available on demand afterwards. And if you've got that spokesperson that you're training up at the moment, I think this will be a good session for them to watch afterwards as well. Before we get started, we thought we'd engage our audience today, and we would ask some poll questions. And we're really keen to see, what you're most interested in today. Is it that pre-show interview, or is it the on-show floor interview? So I'm going to launch a poll if it helps. Hopefully you can see that. So if you can place your answers right now, we would be very grateful. So, what are you most interested in today? Interview at the show, pre-show interview, or pre-show video and teaser? So some of those pre-show videos that you're creating yourselves. Thank you. So I'm going to end the poll now and show you the results. So you'll be pleased to see, Andy, most people are looking for the interview at the show, but there's a few others. So we're going to cover everything off today. That's good to know that we're going to get everything covered. Thank you, everybody, for your answers there. And just before we get into questioning Andy, there's one more poll that we wanted to ask, if Lisa can get the technology working. Where do you expect the biggest challenges? Where are you having the most pain points at the moment? And is it around the AV and the technology setup, if you're doing something yourself or you're looking at your pre-show? Is it really putting together the content, what you're going to be talking about? Is it about the nerves of the body language, or is it about doing the actual talk? Some interesting results there. So please, if you haven't yet answered them, please do. Most of you have now answered, so I'll end the poll and I'll share the results. So hopefully you can see that now, a good mixture of what people are looking at, but dealing with the nerves and the body language, that's the one for me, definitely the nerves. And it's really interesting when you get the spokesperson coming in and they're sweating, and we're going to talk about all of that sort of stuff and about how to help. So thank you for your input, really useful stuff. So let's make a start now we've got those polls.
Great.
Andy, I guess the first thing to talk about, presentation is key. And in most circumstances, I guess the marketing department or the press agency will have pre-arranged the interview. What needs to be considered at this stage, would you say?
So the spokesperson at this time has no clue yet that he or she will be the chosen one, right? So I think one thing is, who should be the spokesperson? Find the right one. And that's not necessarily always the CEO. I think you, same as I, have made the the experience that you put that really senior person in front of a camera and suddenly they freeze and they read a text from the script and it's horrible. Yeah? And typically that's a lack of preparation, and not lack of preparation of the people who organize the interview. They have always a good clue, but it's a lack of preparation for the CEO, whether, and just let's take the CEO example, whether he didn't have the time or he thinks, yeah, I can do it, no worries, I'm senior. But typically that's not how it works, because there's so many things that can go wrong that we're going to speak about in the course of this talk.
Yeah, you always know when the CEO or the spokesperson comes in with that piece of paper and they're shaking and they're thinking, oh, what am I going to say? And it's about kind of preparing and overcoming those things, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, that's one. Find the right person. Then, of course, what am I going to talk about? Right? What is the content? And let's not sell tech to techies and come with architecture diagrams and your new brand name is the XTD23. It's the follow-up from the pre. Who cares about your product names? Talk about the solutions and the benefits you bring, the value you provide. And then it's, yeah, what do you want to achieve? Maybe that's even the question before. Yes, we do an interview with Advanced Television or whoever it is. What do we want to achieve? That's the basic question. Is it just, I have new products? Should I do it even if I have no new products? I think yes. But yeah, that's, is it a call to action? Is it I position myself as an authority? All these things, many, many questions.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess most of our audience here today will have a pre-show interview arranged. So, you know, that Zoom meeting before the show where they're going to get their key messages across to try and engage audience to come and see them at the show. Yeah. We've talked about my technical setup against your beautiful look there. What should people really consider when they're looking at their tech setup for doing a video interview?
Okay, so let me scare you with my setup, and I just quickly switch there. So, right, of course, that's a demonstration. So that's my setup. And no, you, dear audience, you do not need to replicate it that way. If you want, yes, you can. And some people have said, Andy, give me the shopping list. I want the same, but it's not necessary. The few things to consider is I want great light, means I want light on my face, because what happens is people, we read faces and we read between the eyes and the chin. And if it's like this, I'm much worse to read than if I have the light on my face. Yeah, so light your face and make sure there's a good separation between you and the background in light, but also in distance. So that's one. The other thing is, what's the framing? So we're all used to see TV, and what you see here, these are you, and same for me. It's the staple. That's a close-up of TV, means I see head and shoulders. I need to see a bit here, because otherwise, if I cut here, you don't see whether I'm physically engaged in the conversation I have. Yeah? You see the hands, if they come into frame, it makes it all more engaging rather than cutting here. The other important thing is, where do I place the camera to get there? Because, so this is, let's go to the don't. If I do this, it's the same movement, the same. It looks horrible, right? You see all my gear that's on the ceiling, but what you really want is to have the camera more at eye level. Let me do this so you can see both at the same time, right? So raise the camera to eye level, and that's a much more pleasant view. And then just take some boxes, stick them under your laptop or whatever you have to make sure it's at eye level. Because when you do this, it means, realize, when do you see me like this in real life? Me and the ceiling is when you sit and I stand above you and say, where's that report, Lisa? You promised it for today. I make you look up at me. And if I make you look up at me, that's not fantastic for relationship building. So camera at the eye level. The other extreme people we see sometimes is this. Yeah, it's like the Spocky in Captain Kirk's Starship Enterprise, I look like the guy on the computer here, always the first one to die. Not good either, right? So it's the stuff that we're used to see is eye level camera and right framing. So that's some of the basics. And then what do you do with your background? Several people say, I take a virtual background and I put my company logo and I put that kind of stuff. I said, yeah, what does that background say about you? That's a question. I mean, for me, there's a guitar. It's a talking point. People know, okay, Andy plays the guitar, nice. Is it distracting? If I switch to this camera angle and I have the camera, now this looks like it's sticking out of my shoulder. Not great. Worse if it was sticking out of my head. So be aware of what's behind you, and maybe preempting also what we're going to discuss about the trade show. If you have, typically you will have a screen there somewhere. And now, of course, it's not running because it just stopped. That's again, what is running on that screen? We'll do that later, since now it's not working. What's running on the screen? If there's a video running, it might distract from you. And that's when you are at a trade show, that often happens. Something is moving. But yeah, so we get there. But for the video interviews pre-show, light your face, make sure you're well centered, and be aware of where you move. So I have a swivel chair. If you do this while you're talking, you're not very looking much like an authority. So maybe stand, find a spot where you stand. It often gives much more energy than sitting. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of stuff to cover, Lisa.
Yeah, no, definitely. But thank you for that. So in terms of looking at the trade show now, most people will go into a setup where you'd hope that the cameras were in the right angles, you've got the right lighting, they're the experts and they've got you lit. I spoke to you earlier about, you know, the spokesperson coming along with their script and doing the shaking. What can people do in terms of that setup on the trade show? Are there other aids that people can use to help with that?
Yeah. So I'd say typically two cases. Let's say somebody comes with a tech crew, they bring all the light, the camera. That's good because you will not need to care about it. They will bring the right microphone, they will bring the lights, and they will coach you where to look and what to do. So that's the good thing. By the way, just about that, most often they will ask you to not look at the camera. So it's going to be looking like that, right? I look at you now, the interviewer, the camera is a bit off angle and I don't look exactly at the camera. But what this does, and I think that's you need to be aware of, is the typical documentary style. And in this case, it means I create some distance between me and the audience. I'm more the authority, I speak about a topic. That's what we used from watching documentaries. But if I say, hey, why don't you come to my show, to my booth to see this, this, and that, you don't feel like I'm talking to you. While if I say, why don't you come to my booth and look at my demos, I keep eye contact and you feel, and you, dear audience, should feel the difference now, whether I say it looking at the camera or I look off camera. So be aware. On the other hand, it is damn difficult for most people to look into the camera and still react natural. Yeah, so that's something, and that's the biggest tip for how do I deal with that is take it serious, rehearse, rehearse, and rehearse. It's when I do big shows, I'm probably doing my opening script 10, 20, 15 times, and I record myself to see whether I like it and when I'm happy. So you need to invest some time, you need to do the preparation, you need to do the rehearsal. And most probably, unless you've done it many, many times, you need somebody to be with you. That might be your dear audience because you're setting up the interview. Or it might be somebody external like we do, and we're going to talk about it a bit later with the BBC movie director, or I do, and help people. Yeah, how do I do that correctly? Because there's these little things that make a big difference. Like people, they would do it, and what do I do with my hands? And they sit on their hands and they talk. But you feel that. You don't see where my hands are, but you feel they're somehow restricted because I'm completely locked here in my body. And so something goes missing. And if you're not trained to identify these things, you will not notice yourself, and maybe not you as the CMO or whoever, whatever your role is. So yeah, get some help to train that if you want. What the other thing? Warm up. So it's okay. The interview's at 3. Don't block your agenda until 3 with meetings. So leave 15 minutes and then do some warm up. And that's really a good, surprisingly great cure against nervosity is stand up and walk. Walk the hall, go out, shake your hand, shake your body. You don't do that in the booth. Yeah? You're the CEO and suddenly you start doing this. It looks stupid, but I actually do this. Yeah? So if you, and we ask people in some of these trainings, okay, how ready do you feel for a great interview now on a scale of 1 to 10? Just think about it yourself now. Maybe it's 5, maybe 6. And I'm saying now, shake your hand really hard. Do it with both. Shake your arms, stand up, move your hips for 1 minute. And then how do you feel energized now? And typically it's 3, 4, 5 up. So do some warm up. That's for your body. You do a warm up for your voice as well. So it might be even just, yeah, it looks stupid, but it helps. Or some tongue twisters and your face muscles, because this is also tense from a day at IBC. So yeah, there's a warm up, breathing exercises work. I mean, it will go too far to do this already here now, but yeah. And then
what about the use of prompters?
I was about to tell you about that. Yes. So what do we do with prompters? So there's, let me just show you one. No, that's the wrong one. This one. So I have one here. It's my phone. And that's actually an opening script. So if I have a 5-minute talk to do, I can't remember everything, right? So I can put that, and I have here a little, it was for a recent webinar, and I have this little remote. So you can buy this package with a real teleprompter setup. And I would put this close to my camera, and then I just press a button and it starts. And I press again and it stops. So then I would put that, and I have another one here. So there's the camera. And you see it's just above the lens. And let's make the example. So now I'm looking straight into the lens. And now I'm looking just a bit up to read the text. It's almost not noticeable. And the distance at an interview would probably be even a bit further. So there is technology, and I can summarize some links, and we send it afterwards to the audience. The danger is if you have a real script in a sense, you write down the sentences like I did, here. Sometimes people just go, okay, I'm reading all this here off script, and they freeze. There's no body language, there's no movement, all the energy is gone. The voice is not, no difference in speed, intonation, pitch. It becomes horrible. Again, rehearse it if that's what you're good at. Perfect, but you probably need to train it. Or just put bullet points. So you put your notes, but you don't put the notes in your hand, because you don't want to do an interview and say, oh, Lisa, yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, so have the notes close to the camera. It can be a laptop that you remote control with your clicker and it's a PowerPoint slide. It can be a teleprompter on a phone, or it can be somebody who helps you holding your papers. Works as well, right?
Yeah, if they're stood behind the camera with some pointers, and as long as you've rehearsed it, that works, and you don't need the tech.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're alone, then a teleprompter is great. Just, yeah, rehearse it, record it, see if it works for you. Yeah.
Excellent. And you touched a little bit there on, preparing your spokesperson and some of the exercises they might be able to do. Yeah. What other things can our audience do if they're not the spokesperson to prepare that representative?
I mean, one thing is, of course, the content itself, right? So let's make sure we stick to a few key messages. That's about it. I thought about that, and I was scared that you would say, yeah, but Lisa, you're telling me, Andy, but you come with not 3, you come with 20 bullets. Yeah, that's a bit tough here, what we're trying to achieve. There's so many boxes to tick to make it great. But yeah, let's say 3, maybe max 5 bullets, big topics that you would raise, because often what happens then, the marketing person tells the CEO, you need to talk about this, this, and that. And this, and that recent press release, and the new partnerships, and you end up with 11 points. That's not great for the audience, but it's even worse for the one who needs to speak about it, because she will get lost as well. So yeah, don't overload your spokesperson. Prepare them well. I think that's already, and be there and be honest. Be honest in the feedback. I mean, even if the CEO said, sorry, you're not moving, or you're moving your hips, and what is that? You need to stop it. Sit down, get rid of the swivel chair. That's not always easy, depending on who is the one who is supposed to coach the CEO.
And what about those nerves? I always think it's nice when the marketing person or your press agency takes you to where you're going to be filmed and actually meet the moderator ahead of time.
Yes. Yeah, because the marketing person will meet the moderator probably early. I mean, that's the other thing in nerves. You have a friend, normally. Maybe unless it's Tommy, who knows? Hi, Tommy. Tommy Flanagan. He typically doesn't share the questions with you. Which is not nice, because then you have no clue what's coming, and some curveballs might come. So I always try to prepare my interviewees that this is the talking points. These are the things we're going to talk about. And then you feel safe, right? And that's a lot for nervous people. So, okay, I know what's coming. But yeah, it would be great to meet that person face to face before and say, okay, we're going to have the interview. Great. Let's just go through the script quickly, or the talking points. So that helps as well. Yes, because it's people talking to people. And if the other one is smiling and nodding, it reassures me. And that's why it's so much easier to look at the interviewer rather than looking into the camera.
Yeah, and from my point of view as a moderator, I like to understand what we're going to be talking about, and coach that spokesperson along if they've forgotten certain key elements of what they want to talk about. So that piece of preparation, I think, is quite key in terms of meeting beforehand.
Yeah, or even then saying, okay, if the interviewer arrives maybe early, I had another one canceled, can we do it now? And he's trying to press you to do it now. You as the marketing person, sorry, no, CEO will have arranged this time. And because otherwise you might just stress everybody out. So be the buffer. Say, yeah, you've done your workout. Warm up, do it. Walk around the booth 3 times. It will help. Yeah. So shield from too much pressure, and don't put too much pressure yourself.
And that spokesperson shouldn't be afraid to say, can we start again, please? I didn't like that.
Yes. I mean, very seldomly, unless you are on stage in a fireside chat situation, you can do that. So it's either you realize right now, okay, that was like, okay, sorry, can we start again? Do that, use that, but even afterwards, when you said, let me think about that point. Hey, Lisa, what do you think? Was I sharp on the point or not? No? Okay, let's do that again, please. Again, it's preparation, rehearsal. So if you speak with the interviewer before, you would probably know that we as interviewers, we always like to get answers in full sentences. So if I ask you, So how long does it typically take to install that system? And you say, roughly 3 weeks. That's tough for me because when I edit the interview, I cut out my question and will just put it below in the captions. But if you say roughly 3 minutes, it's too short. So I want you, 3 weeks, I will ask you to answer in full sentences. And if you do it 3 times, I might get, please, can we have full sentences? And it will put you under pressure on them. So again, rehearse, rehearse, rehearse.
And typically these interviews, you get kind of 10 minutes to shoot what you need to say, but then they're condensed down to a 2-3 minute interview.
Yes.
How do you make sure that you get the right message across during that real short period of time?
Well, you just said it. You know, we record 10 minutes and then it's going to be cut down to 2. So you will need to really be sharp on your sentences, on point, and decide that what I call trailer moments. So if you say there's 10 minutes, there may be a 10-minute recording, but there is a teaser of 30 seconds. What is the interviewer going to take out of those 10 minutes that is worthwhile for a teaser trailer? So I might say, okay, you want to excel in these interviews? We need to cover 5 things: video, audio, body language, voice, and content. 5. That could be my trailer moment, right? You take that and that goes on YouTube, or you want to watch the full recording. Here's what you get. Think about that before we will find these things, hopefully. And the other thing is, once you said it, stop talking. That's, by the way, one of the toughest things, to stop talking. Making pauses. It's part of the voice and the, not the visuals, but the voice, yeah? So when you have a list, make pauses for people to let them sink in the message that you just passed. And often it's like people go fast when they're nervous and they forget all the pauses. And then it's like reading a page of text with small print without any paragraph breaks. It's tough. And it will even be tougher if it's just 90 seconds. And oh God, no, never want to watch the 10 minutes, please. Yeah.
And I guess our industry is tech heavy, and vendors out there have got so many wonderful names for their products.
Yes.
You know, the XYZ, but it doesn't say what it actually does. What advice have you got there? You know, they want to promote the name, that's the name in the campaign, but how should they overcome that to really engage their audience?
So me having been on the other side, I've been a procurement at what is now Sky Germany. Back then it was called Premiere. I always resonated with people that understand my problem and talk with me about the problem they're solving. All these abbreviations, all these product names mean nothing to your potential buyer. As I help you solve this, I cut your, or I help you predict churn or reduce churn or increase your ARPU. How the system is called that you're selling me, secondary. It will come, yes, but, or sometimes even, just had the discussion this afternoon, I'm helping also companies in go-to-market strategy and get to some of the big tier 1 telcos on how to position themselves. Like, sometimes you might not even talk about your product, you talk about their product. Yeah. So we help build brands, or we put the brand of your whatever you do. Yeah? So you know what I mean. It's talk about them and their problem, what you do for them, rather than saying, I do that with this device. Yeah. I make you look great in front of the camera, or I sell you the new remote control for, it's called the Baz View. There you go. No, what resonates more? Yeah. But I know they're proud about their products and they want to talk about it. You can name it and it will be in the press release, but is it engaging? Maybe not.
Yeah, good points, good points. So I know when I'm at a trade show and I'm doing TV interviews. So I can work with, I don't know, up to 20 companies a day doing the interviews, and those interviews then all get put onto the same kind of video player and you can see one after the other. What can you do to make sure that your interview is different and that you stand out and people really want to watch what you've delivered?
You heard my 5 points? I think that's it. That's exactly that. I mean, you want to have great video. Oh, so first of all, content is king. If your content is crap, you will not get far. So let's assume you have the right bullets, the right messages that resonate with your audience. But then invest in, if you do it yourself, have a great camera. I mean, that's, as I showed you before, this is the same room, the same light. Which picture do you prefer? Right, so that's no brainer. Then there's audio. If you have a great video, you have great content, but you have crappy audio, and I just switch from, this is a microphone that's just here. I switched to an, just to illustrate it. Do you hear the difference? You do hear the difference, right?
I hear the difference.
And if I do that, and it's maybe even, this is already good. If I do a crappy one, might be horrible. Or people that do it with their headphones or their, why would I do an interview like this? Or even a call like this, unless I'm in a very noisy environment. So be aware of the audio. And then, yes, it's the body language. And that's maybe the most underrated thing. So there was a recent interview, or not an interview, an article in Harvard Business Review. They interviewed startups pitching to investors, and they recorded that. And then they gave the recording to another group of investors, said, who do you think got the money? Now, the trick was one group of investors got video and sound. Another one just got sound, no video. And the third one just got the video, but no sound. They had no clue what it was about. And guess what? Who is the group that was most successful? I told you already. So it's
You've told me already.
Yes. So it's the group that had just the visuals, no sound. They did not know what the content is. Strange. So what does it tell us? What did Harvard Business Review say? It means, well, we underestimate the value and the impact of the visuals. Because what we read, how do we read emotions as human beings? It's the visuals. It's not what you say. It's if I say, I'm super excited to be here in your panel, Lisa. It's so great to be here. You hear the words, but you just don't believe me, right? And that was exaggerated. So even the investors that gave the money, they said, no, I put my decision based on the business plan and the founding team and the background and all this, and it's a great industry. But if the others predict with really significant difference, better than those who know what it's about, it tells us something. Is that there is something in the back of your head that makes you do some choices because of something you're not even aware of. So that's why I think mastering this, how do I bring my hands into the frame? How do I make pauses? How do I do all that and master that? It really requires rehearsal and training, and there you can make a big difference. You can all buy a great camera and great microphones and have a crew that lights you, but you still, it's your messages and how you deliver them. That is the big difference for me.
Yeah, and it's important because this is the company brand, isn't it? And you need to make a lasting impression, and your spokesperson needs to match the brand.
Yeah, so for me, you could use the CEO if you wanted. By the way, I saw a great example this morning. Verimatrix has just put out a trailer with their CEO. Well done. I'm sure that was not cheap. Really cool. High quality production. So that does stand out. Now, I lost a bit the thread. What did you...
So where did you see the Verimatrix video? Where was that, on LinkedIn?
It was on LinkedIn. It was on LinkedIn. Yeah. So yeah, invest the time in the rehearsal, and make sure you tick all those boxes. I think that's key.
Excellent. We're going to move into Q&A. So if you have got any questions for Andy, please do post them in the Q&A button. But Andy, you do offer, we've just touched on very small pieces today because we had only got the kind of 45-minute slot. Talk us a little bit around the courses you offer, because, you know, we've talked about preparation and rehearsal, and how long do you need to teach your spokesperson how to get it right for you and, you know, be that great ambassador? So talk around the course a little bit. Yeah,
so maybe just 1 second on the ambassador. Your ambassador might be your CEO, like in the very Matrix example. It might be also a program manager or somebody who is just great on stage, who has that energy, who is smiley and engaging, a face for the camera. Fantastic. Yes. Find that person, and that's not for that one interview. Maybe that's the face of the company, or it might be your video, or you have a group of people that are doing that well on LinkedIn whenever you do video content. I mean, that's the other thing. Yeah? So we all see now these canal pictures with "come to my booth at D41." Okay, how boring. Yeah, so do a video. Now, the courses. Yeah, that's exactly how I started with that. I had a big event with Vodafone, and I asked them, listen, you're the ambassadors of great quality. But sorry, if I see you in an event, if I see you in a video call, I don't see it. You're not looking at the camera, half of your head is disappearing, you're sitting in front of a white, bright background. Doesn't match with what you tell me. Yeah, so I have a disconnect. You talk about great quality, but I don't see that. So that's where we started. And it's a former BBC movie director, 15 years behind the camera, an actor before, and he's doing a workshop. It's workshop. It's not a lecture. It means we say, Lisa, come prepared with a 1-minute speech, and we're gonna tell you honest, what do you do well? Because that's important. If you have nerves and you know what I'm good at, focus on that. That's maybe another tip, bonus tip. Focus on what you do well already. Because if you think, I should do this and that and that and that, it's going to be tough. You say, I'm good if I'm speaking slow. Okay, I'm going to speak slow. And I'm going to look at the camera. Perfect. So yeah, it's 4 hours, maximum 6 people. Typically, this is for one company, but we do an open session on September 7. So if people are interested, they can reach out to me. Let me just add here my barcode so you have my contact details. So it's 6 people, 4 hours, and we're going to talk about setup of technology. We're going to talk about what are the bullet points you should bring, voice, pausing, dealing with nerves, warm up. And why is that so important that you do it in a small group? Because it's that you rehearse. You get instant feedback from somebody who has been 15 years behind the camera, said, I like make little tweaks. Yeah, you just told us this project is really in delay, but you smiled. Doesn't work. Or you have these great points, but you're talking so fast. So we're the biggest company in Germany. Versus we're the biggest company in Germany, and we have launched the X3 500 and the so nothing lands. Everything is one line. So done this with more than 120 people so far, and they love it. Average rating is 9.8 out of 10. And then afterwards, I do a one-on-one coaching on gear. So how do you set up your individual situation for whatever you want to achieve? Yeah, so we have still 5 seats open for September 7. If you're interested, dear audience, reach out.
Good stuff. And do you think, obviously, September the 7th, that's really close to IBC. Yes. Do you think that's enough time to train somebody up? You know, you've talked about practice, practice, practice. Is that long enough?
Probably not. Probably not, but that's some quick wins.
You need to get the practice in now then.
Yeah, so if you want to do something before, I mean, we can talk, but that's one session, and that's sessions that will happen quite regularly. But yeah, 10 days, it's 10 days now, it's only 8 days before IBC. It's not a lot, but it gives you confidence, and there's big change in short time possible. Because let's take the example of pausing. I would say, Lisa, do this little speech that you have and make pauses, and you would do it. And we would go around the table and said, nah, Lisa, we didn't hear any pauses. No, I did them. Okay, do it again until it feels uncomfortable and a bit more. Try, go. And you will do it. And we said, it felt horrible. And we said, no, that was perfect. Remember that feeling, and then you do it. And that already will give you a boost. And how to deal with nerves. I'm shaking. I said, okay, breathing exercises. We don't have time to do this here now, but yeah, that people come out of these only 4 hours said, wow, I thought this is art, and I realized it is science.
Great. Okay, so we've got the QR code up there if anybody's interested. We had a question, so, and I quite like this one.
Yeah.
What do you think about videos walking around the show? Is it distracting or rather more interesting?
Let me do the example. If I can. Okay, so, no, sorry, not that. And I want to play something in my background. And you will see the difference, because it is distracting. So now let me get rid of the barcode. I'm talking to you, and you only see a movie behind me. And what happens? I'm talking, and you are distracted by that content that's here. So what happens in your brain is, oh, it's Guardian of the Galaxy. I've seen the first 2 ones. What is it? Oh, that's interesting. I should go see it. That's funny. And I'm distracted. Now that's just a monitor behind me in the frame. Now imagine you're walking and you see people that you know. No, you're walking, you're interviewing yourself, walking, and you pass people. Whoever watches it, that's the Nagra booth. I worked there a long time ago. I know this guy. I think it's a bad idea. Long story short, yeah. I think it's
honesty is the best policy, Andy. So,
sorry.
Honesty is the best policy. So
yes, yeah. I think it distracts. So that's another bonus tip. When do I do that recording on the show? If it's really, I'm showing you what I did. Do it early morning before the show floor opens. Do it after the show closes, if you can. Normally you have dinners there, or you do it the day after or the day before the show, because then it's quiet. I mean,
I guess if people wanted to get the atmosphere into their interview or their video they're cutting, they could always add in some B-roll afterwards.
Yes. So B-roll, we need to explain, it's just video where you don't talk, you just capture some moments. I mean, that's what I do often with my 360 camera. You might see me walking around with it. It's great to capture the mood, but if you're talking to it, it's not great, because it's distracting. It's like you do the interview on your booth and you see people coming and going behind you. I mean, you definitely want to make sure the background is blurred. Do it by the lens rather than software. Make sure it's not too distracting.
Okay, so a few more questions.
Yeah.
What if you want to interview walk-ups or pre-schedule interview with other attendees?
What is interview walk-up?
I guess if somebody comes up to your booth and you think, oh, we'll do a quick interview with these, or you're going to pre-schedule with another attendee that's coming onto the booth.
I would always suggest to schedule. Why? I mean, okay, if you're super experienced, you've done this 1,000 times, and now I get questions that I'm not prepared to get, and you're comfortable with it, go for it. Just make sure you have a chance to review before it goes out. The more you can control, the easier it will be for your spokesperson, and the more likely you will be sure to land your points. Because you have rehearsed. So if you say, okay, now who is here? Oh, our ambassador is not there. Tim, come here, do the interview. And poor Tim, what will happen to him? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
not
good
a great
stuff.
idea.
Thank you.
There's another one.
Final question then. What is your advice for a product demo where the person talking would need to turn their head to the screen away from the camera?
So question first, why would you videotape your demo? I'm also doing some sales training with partners together. So what is the right time for a demo? I'd say often, and some people might say, Andy, what are you talking about? I think often it's not the first meeting. And if they see your video, is that the first meeting? So I would do a separate session for my demo video. Why would you record it at the trade show? Do it at home. And you have two cameras. One is showing what you do there, and the other one could show the guy talking. Yeah, so like if I do something like this. So I'm talking, and here's the demo. You see me fiddling with a thing, but I still look at the camera. So produce your demo beforehand, your demo video. I would not do it necessarily at the trade show. If you want to capture the mood, hey, we've done here something, and you capture, it's 10 seconds, then it's fine. But if you want to capture the full demo, I would always do it in a controlled environment. Again, do it before, do it after. Have two cameras. Record the guy doing the demo and record the demo separately, and then you cut it together afterwards. Will be a lot more engaging.
Excellent. Good advice. Thanks, Andy. So Andy put his QR code up. You can put your QR code back up again if you like. So if you want to get in touch with Andy afterwards and ask him questions about the course or any one-on-one questions, he's going to be really happy to answer.
Yes.
We're going to make this available on demand. So if you want to show any of your colleagues or your spokesperson some of the tips there, then please feel free to share the links. And as you know, membership of the Circle Society is open to all these days, so there are no barriers to accessing our content anymore. So thank you very much, Andy, for all of your tips, and thank you everybody for attending. We look forward to seeing you soon, and we look forward to seeing your videos as well.
Yes, was great to see you, Lisa. Thank you for having me, and dear audience, see us at IBC. If you want to talk about other things as well, go to market strategy or how to do events. I think you can find Lisa or myself, and happy to give some tips. You'll probably see me with my 360 camera with the 3-meter selfie sticks at a time. That's me. See you in Amsterdam.
Easy to find. Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.